Amy. I'm a certified attachment style coach, and I help anxious attachers break the cycle of avoidant and emotionally unavailable partners so that you can really thrive in your independence and prevent future heartbreak. And I haven't done a live stream for I don't know how long for you guys, so I thought I'd just drop on this evening to answer any questions that you guys might have. And I want to talk about in this live stream the idea that you just have to love yourself more. Because I was told this, and I was in a 7-year on and off relationship with a dismissive avoidant partner, and I so wanted this relationship to work. I was so deep in the belief that this was a me problem and there was something wrong with me as to why this relationship wasn't working. Now, if you're in this scenario where you are in a relationship where you don't feel valued, where you don't feel like your needs matter, where you were continually gaslit into thinking 100% of the time that you're the problem, to tell somebody in this situation that they need to love themselves more is insane, because I bet you guys have already tried that. I bet you've tried affirming to yourself that you are valued, that you matter, that you're important, and the relationship still isn't working. And to tell somebody who is trauma bonded or in a toxic relationship that they just need to love themselves more is not going to do any good. And it didn't do me any good. All it did was send me on a wild goose chase, finding this invisible problem that I had with myself, because I honestly believed if I could heal myself, my relationship would heal. So if anybody has ever told you that you are in this situation because you don't love yourself enough to leave, it's so damaging, and it really makes it so that you are the problem. It's reaffirming that dysfunctional belief that you have that there's something the matter with you and you are the reason why your relationship isn't working. And I wanted to, in this video, shift this a little bit into not trying to love yourself more, but certainly try to trust yourself more. Now, as anxious attachers, we have this programming pre-programmed from years ago that we don't matter, that our feelings don't matter. And we've suffered so much invalidation that we believe that. We see life through that lens. Even with friendships, even with work matters, we will always think that we're the problem. Now, we don't trust ourselves because we've been gaslighted so much into believing that our feelings are invalid, that, why do I feel offended when somebody has offended me? Why do I feel disrespected when my partner has just disrespected me? And we shift the lens, sorry, that's my dog. We shift the lens so much into ourselves that we fail to see the actions of the other person. And I did a video this week with the perfect example of this, where I was sat at a pub with my ex-partner and a woman randomly walked past and he said to me, I would fuck her. And I was, my jaw was on the floor. And I felt so rejected, so undervalued, so like, why would you say that to somebody? And when I tried to discuss that later on, the blame was shifted onto me that actually, Amy, it's your insecurities that have ruined today. It's not what I've said. You're too insecure. This is to do with your past. This isn't me. And what I found myself doing was trying to be okay with disrespectful behavior. And I spot this a lot with clients, that they see themselves as the problem so much that they try to desensitize themselves to behavior that is blatantly disrespectful. And this is because we don't trust what our feelings are telling us. And it took me a while to actually start to trust what my body was saying. And I'm going to go into this video how I did that. But what I want you guys to really get used to is to being inside of your body and noticing when things feel uncomfortable and not gaslighting yourself, because your feelings don't lie. You feel uncomfortable for a reason. And a lot of the time when I see videos and things like that and advice on anxious attachers, that we're too clingy, that we're too suspicious, that we see life through the lens of abandonment. And yes, that's true. We do see see life through the lens of abandonment. But when we dig deeper, actually what's going on is that somebody has got a partner who does constantly dismiss them, who does constantly make them think that their feelings don't matter. And if you're with somebody who every time you bring up a relationship issue, they threaten to leave, or that they say, why are you ruining such a nice day? And you never seem to get to the root of the problem. It's not an attachment style issue. Not with you anyway. It's not anything to do with anxious attachment. But what we're sort of trained to do as anxious attachers is look at, where am I the problem here? I'm going to find this invisible problem. I'm going to find this belief that I have that I need to shift so that, you know, this will all go away. And it doesn't actually stop the behavior of your partner, but what it does do is desensitize you to behavior that is blatantly disrespectful, that is harmful in some cases. You know, maybe there's name calling, and on a certain level you feel like you deserve that, which you absolutely don't. Of course you don't. So what we want to do is we want to try and trust ourselves a lot more. So the way I did this was I, moment by moment, would validate how I felt. Even if I felt good, I would persistently throughout the day in little intervals get inside myself and think, how do I feel right now? Why do I feel this? What do I think about this scenario? And make it okay. Make it okay that you feel rejected because your partner's stonewalling you. Make it okay that you feel like you don't matter because you're being given the silent treatment. It isn't your fault. It is a dysfunctional coping mechanism that the other person has. It's nothing to do with your attachment style. And when we see these videos of, you know, anxious attachers are the problem, yes, in certain respects, when you have a secure partner, if you are looking for ways that this person is going to abandon you, then yes, of course there is healing that needs to be done. But when you are thinking these things legitimately, that I feel this way because my partner in every argument says that he's going to leave, a secure person would feel anxious. It's nothing to do with your past trauma. It's nothing to do with the lens that you see your relationship through. But the anxious attacher will stay in these relationships because they are frightened to leave, because they have this belief that their needs aren't going to get met, that if this person goes, then I'm going to feel abandoned, I'm going to feel rejected, which, yeah, it sucks. Rejection and abandonment, feeling that is the pits. It's horrible. But when you can start trusting how you feel a bit more, and when you can start being there for yourself a bit more, that fear of abandonment is going to diminish because you are going to stop abandoning yourself. So throughout the day, take note of how you feel, even if at the time you don't think you should be feeling this way. You do. You do feel that way, and it has to be okay because that's just how things are right now. It will change, but at this moment, I feel anxious. Here's why I feel anxious. I feel anxious because my partner hasn't texted me back. Okay, I think this. I think that my partner's cheating on me. I think that my partner's in a bad mood with me. Validate it. You don't need to go to that other person to see if that's the case, because the more you do this, the more clarity you are going to get. So you are going to be able to see the truth. Now, a lot of anxious attachers, when they're in relationships with avoidant people or toxic people or even narcissistic people who, I suppose, manipulate them into thinking that their feelings are wrong because they've been conditioned to always believe that what they are seeing, feeling, thinking isn't accurate. When you can trust how you think and feel, you are going to be able to start trusting yourself a lot more and seeing things for what they are. You're going to stop living in hope that this person's going to change. You're going to stop living in hope that the relationship's going to just suddenly, you know, transform into the best relationship ever, because we start to live in our imagination. We start to see this person being who they are not in front of us. We start seeing this person's good side. And it's damaging. It makes it so that you will never ever have your feelings validated. Even you don't validate your own feelings, so the person that you're with certainly won't. And when clients come to me, they often are in relationships or are going through a breakup with an avoidant partner or a toxic partner, and they want the relationship to work so much. And when we actually do some work on, hang on, what's going on here, really what's going on, and take the emotion out of it, and we can see clearly what is going on in front of you. When you can validate your own feelings, you will start to see the fog lift and think, actually, this person isn't who I thought they were. And this is what happened to me, you guys, where I had this image of my partner in my head, but he never showed up like that. He never showed up for me. He never validated how I felt. He never apologized for things unless it suited him and unless it benefited him. He didn't seem to care how I felt. And it caused me to internalize that when I didn't care how I felt anymore. I just wanted this relationship to be okay. I just wanted things to just be okay so badly that I, stayed in that situation for 7 years. So when we can start to really notice how we feel, notice what we think, and validate it. Yes, this happened. Yes, I feel like this. Yes, it's understandable that I feel like this. Maybe I'm supposed to feel like this. You are going to start noticing a lot more how this is showing up in your relationships and start to question whether this is the right path for you, whether this is the right relationship for you. Because if every time you're bringing something up, you are being dismissed, or you are, the conversation suddenly ends in a topic that you didn't discuss in the first place, you are going to feel confused, and you're going to feel like, are you right? Are you not right? You're going to be operating with this underlying feeling of confusion. I'm just going to go and answer some of your questions. I hear you, Barry. Yep. Breakups with avoidance are very traumatic. We can find ourselves really, really trauma bonded to avoidance. Hey, Janine. How old am I? Is that a serious question? I'm 40. It's also a belief that we feel like we need to ignore the 3D no matter how pathetic the be. Yeah, if you've been in the manifesting community, you will have been told ignore what's in front of you. And you can't keep ignoring what's in front of you, because what's in front of you is happening, is in fact, happening. And if you're ignoring what's in front of you, it causes cognitive dissonance, where you actually have two belief systems going at the same time about the same person. So you've got the belief system that this person's great, that this person meets my needs, this person's the perfect partner, but what's actually showing up is somebody that doesn't listen to you, somebody that repeatedly dismisses you, and somebody who has no interest in what you have to say or what your needs are. So you've got two belief systems running at the same time about the same person, and it causes like an internal tug of war where you don't really know what's right. So notice yourself going into limerence, notice yourself going into your imagination, because the only reason you are doing this, you guys, is because in your imagination, you get your needs met. In your imagination, everything is perfect. In your imagination, there are no problems. And it is problematic when you are trying to operate in a relationship and trying to have a secure relationship, because that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to communicate with your partner. You're trying to, think of ways and exhausting yourself to have this secure relationship. So don't beat yourself up for trying. Don't beat yourself up for trying to communicate with somebody who's not communicative, because all you're really trying to do is have a healthy relationship. And who wouldn't want that? Healthy love should be taught in schools. Absolutely. Me and my friend were actually talking about this the other day. And, I have a child, and I, of course, want my child to witness what secure love looks like, what respect looks like. And if it is that you're having to sit down with somebody to teach them what basic respect is, you're with the wrong person. Respect is automatic. When you truly love somebody, you respect that person. You want to know what that person's needs are. You want to know what that person's likes and dislikes are. That's what respect is. Respect isn't saying to somebody because they, have an issue, or, you're upset about something, isn't you're ruining the day. Why are you bringing this up now? That happened 2 weeks ago. Why is it still bothering you? I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been trying to figure out the best way to say this to you without this happening. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. What's my stance on the law of assumption now? I think that the teachings of Neville Goddard are useful when you are trying to change yourself, not what's on the outside. Do I believe in specific person teachings? I can't say yes or no, but all I can say is that my experience of them is toxic. It plays on deep abandonment wounds. And I know when I got into that community that actually it was me reaffirming this deep abandonment wound that I had that I just didn't want to face. So if it is that you're using those teachings to improve yourself, which it sounds like you are, then great. If it works, if it makes you feel confident, if it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel more secure, go ahead and do it. Don't do it so that the outside changes. But I am starting to do meditations as well. So I've got one online now. I'm going to do a few more because I'm a lover of meditations. I like meditations. I think they're very, very effective because partly in order to become secure, meditation can be really useful because it's so helpful to be able to see yourself as a secure person and feel into that, feel into what it would be like if I was secure. How would I act if I was secure? What would I be doing right now if I was secure? Would I be staring at the phone right now? Probably not. I'd be going and making myself a healthy meal. I'd be going and get myself a cup of tea. I'd be going and get myself a really nice hot bath. I was also chasing someone and realized that they were bad for me, especially because I was extremely anxious after the breakup. Now, I think this is a really good time to mention trauma bonding because a lot of people are in a trauma bond but don't realize that they're in a trauma bond. So if it is that you feel anxious when that person is gone, the chances are you may well be in a trauma bond. Now, trauma bonds don't develop in secure relationships. They develop in toxic relationships. And the reason why trauma bonds develop is through intermittent reinforcement, which you would not get in a healthy, secure relationship. If you are with somebody who is avoidant, who is toxic, who is narcissistic, XYZ, you will have been subject to intermittent reinforcement. I can guarantee that. Because one day you'll be the best thing ever. The next day it'll be like you don't exist. One day they'll be nice to you, the next day they won't be. You don't know what version of that person you are going to get. And what it causes you to do is tread on eggshells around this person because of the uncertainty. And they did, I can't remember which scientist did it, but you'll probably have heard of the rat experiment with the pellets. So the rat presses the button, the pellet comes out. They press the button, the pellet comes out. And they did that. The rat was happy. And then they did it where no pellets at all came out when the rat pressed the button. And all that happened was that the rat just lost interest and went and did something else. When they did it intermittently, so sometimes a pellet would come out, but sometimes it wouldn't, what they found was that the rat became so hyper focused on this button that it would not take care of itself. It stopped eating, it stopped grooming, it stopped socializing with the other rats. It was so hyper focused on this button because of the intermittent reinforcement. And that's what happens in toxic relationships. And this is why the cycle is so hard to break, because it becomes addictive. It becomes so that you are so hyper focused on the reward, i.e., the kind behavior, the love bombing in some cases. You become so hyper focused with how do I get that reward, that you do start neglecting yourself. You do start putting your needs to the wayside to meet somebody else's as a way to get the reward. You will start people pleasing, you will start fawning, you will start learning what to say, how to say it, how to act in order to get the reward. Now, the problem with this is that it becomes an addictive cycle, and it's like a smoker trying to stop smoking. The nervous system goes into anxiety and panic when the cigarette's not there. So they're looking for relief in the cigarette. They're looking for relief in the thing that caused the addiction in the first place. And that is what happens in these relationships. You start to seek relief from the thing that's causing you the pain. So you start to seek relief from your toxic partner, even though they are the ones causing the pain. And, you know, how messed up is that? How messed up is that to do something like that to another person, to have them perform so that they get a certain behavior from them, so that they get the reward that they're looking for? It's quite insidious, it's quite nasty, and it's a control tactic, because whilst you're confused and whilst you are in panic mode, you are less likely to leave. I might do a short course on trauma bonding, because, like I say, I think a lot of people are in one, but they don't realize it. But if it is, like I say, that you've split up from a partner, of course, there is going to be the normal level of grief. You are going to go through the process of letting go of that person. But when you are in a trauma bond, it feels like your oxygen has been taken away. It feels like you are going to die without this person. And because of how these relationships end, they tend to end in a really brutal way, that it's never really a nice ending. It's always, you know, after a conflict, it's always that somebody's just ghosted you. It's never ended in a healthy way. You are never going to get closure that is going to help you move forward. And that's really, really hard, you guys. When it is that a relationship ends and you haven't got closure, it can make it more difficult for you to move on. But the only way to move on is to move through it. And if you are coming out of a trauma bonded relationship, you are going to feel like you are coming off a drug. You are physically going to feel all of the feelings. You're going to feel super tired. You're going to feel anxiety. You're going to feel like I say, your oxygen is gone, that they're your lifeline. And then before you know it, you're glued to the phone. You're waiting for a text message from this person. And you consciously, you know that this is ridiculous. Why can't I put the phone away? But you can't, because it's become your lifeline. Hearing from this person has become your lifeline. But all it really is it's a massive dopamine crash. And you're trying to sort of navigate yourself through a breakup with other people around you thinking it's a normal breakup, but it's not. It's never a normal breakup with a toxic person. It's never a normal breakup with an avoidant. It's always going to be this painful experience where you are going to feel rejected and abandoned. You are going to feel like that it's never going to end, that you're constantly going to be in this horrible cycle. So I want you to be gentle with yourselves, and I want you to take this as an opportunity to grow, because we always grow through pain. We have pain. I'm a great believer that painful experiences are your best teachers. So even though it's painful right now, it's not going to be painful forever. You are going to have so many insights from this experience that money just can't buy, therapy can't buy. You are going to realize so much about yourself that you are never, ever going to walk into another relationship like that again. And I do have a 6-week self-study course which goes through the exact steps I took to move towards more secure. That's available in my bio. But like I say, I'm going to do a shorter course on trauma bonding and how to best navigate yourself out, and how to know if you're in one as well, because just labeling it is helpful. You know, if you're in a breakup that you can't seem to move past. I mean, I spoke to one of my clients the other day, and they were with this person for 4 months and they could not understand why they felt like they felt. They were in such grief, they were crying all the time, and they didn't get why, because it was such a short relationship. But these relationships are so intense that the addiction to that person happens so fast that you don't even know that it's happening. You've got the real high, the dopamine rush of feeling like you've met your soulmate, feeling like this relationship's gonna last forever. This person's amazing. And it's a massive dopamine hit. And then that's just taken away. And you get the crash and you don't know what's happening. And before you know it, you're crying while you're doing the dishes. But once you can name it, and once you can be aware of what's happening, you can create some space in between yourself and what's going on. So you can actually start to be, you know, a little more aware that there isn't actually anything wrong with you. The nature of these relationships is addictive and it's manipulative. Are there any more questions before I shoot off? Okay, you guys, been absolute pleasure as always. But I'm going to get myself into Bedfordshire after I've had my matcha latte. And love you all. And I will see you all soon.